Hi guys, welcome back to At Home with Holly. My name's Holly. I'm so glad that you're here with me today. Happy first grow room day for all those who celebrate. So today we are down in my basement grow room where I have all of my shelves and grow lights, and I have my containers from Bootstrap Farmer and just things we've collected over the years. And I have my soil down here, and I have my fertilizer, and I have all my seeds, and it's time. We are in the middle of an Arctic blast. I hope that everyone is staying warm wherever you are and safe. We are going to be growing sweet potato slips this year, and we are going to grow sweet potato slips from our sweet potatoes that we grew last year. Once you have a sweet potato, you can use it to grow your slips. So you're always going to be in sweet potatoes, unless you have a year like I did 2 seasons ago where the mice came in and ate all of your sweet potatoes, in which case you are going to need to purchase sweet potato slips to get you started. There's lots of ways to purchase them, lots of stores online, lots of local gardening stores to you. Or you can actually grow your own sweet potato slips from a bag of organic, meaning they weren't sprayed, because most potatoes in the grocery store, you don't want them to be sprouting. And so they actually spray them with a sprout inhibitor. So you want to buy organic sweet potatoes from the grocery store, and you can grow these slips the same way. We did that together last year. I can link that video. But this year we had sweet potatoes that we could save. And so I have those here in a crate, and we are going to grow some more sweet potato slips from those. Now, the other thing that we grew this year was I purchased some sweet potato vines, for just ornamental vines for my front porch, and those grew really well. And when I went to go empty out the pots in the late fall, early winter, they had grown tubers, which sometimes they do. And I thought, well, if I can grow slips from tubers for the eating sweet potatoes, I'm going to try to grow slips from the tubers from my ornamental sweet potatoes or ornamental sweet potato vines as well. So we're going to grow not just the ones that we eat, but the ones that we decorate with. And it'll be an experiment. I don't see any reason why it couldn't work, but I've been wrong before. It's good to try. It's just fun to try. So we are going to try that. So I have all the tubers saved up here. I have some soil, and I'm going to walk you through how we're going to do this process together. I'm so excited that you're here. So the first thing that I'm going to do is I have all of this potting mix here. I use, for my seed starting mix, I use Pro Mix, the kind with the mycorrhiza in it. I've used all the kinds. It doesn't really matter. You can use potting mix or you can use seed starting mix. The only difference is seed starting mix has been sifted a little more. So it's a little more fine, and it doesn't have any organic material in it. So there's nothing with nutrition in there. It's just a nice, soft area for the seeds to not have trouble pushing their roots through. So I tend to start out with the seed starting mix. If I have to up pot, maybe I will add some potting mix. But I start out with the seed starting mix, and this is the kind that has worked well for me. So I'm going to pre-moisten our seed starting mix. This is some really hot water. We're just going to get this all mixed up. Now, there's a couple different ways to start sweet potatoes. You can do the sweet potatoes where you put them inside a jar of water to grow slips. That works well. Or you can actually do the method that we're going to do, which is that you kind of half bury them and they will grow slips that way as well. So this is just the method I prefer to use. And then once they grow the slips, you snip them off and put them in a glass of water, and they'll root out. And those are the slips that you plant in the spring. So there's no wrong way to do this, just as long as you're growing stuff. That's all that matters. So let's get this pre-moistened and get ready. Now, if I were starting seeds in this, I would also add in, I use Trifecta Plus from MI Gardener. It's an organic, all-purpose, slow-release fertilizer, really balanced. I like to add a little bit of that in with my seed starting mix. Seeds don't need fertilizer to grow, to germinate. But once they start growing, it's nice to have it there for them to uptake when they're ready for it. But for growing sweet potato slips, I don't think that's necessary, so I'm not going to add that into this mix. I am going to get a tray. Let's see. So I'm going to pull out the sweet potatoes that we're going to be growing slips from. These are good ones. Okay, so we've got our edible and ornamental sweet potatoes that we're going to use to grow slips. Now here, the way that I did it last year was I just took these 10-20 trays with no holes and I just added soil to them. I think I actually put them in each potato in one of these. It's totally unnecessary though. What I do like is I'm a fan of bottom watering. So what I am going to do is I'm going to use these like microgreens, like mesh bottoms, so that I can completely submerge this in water and bottom water. I'm just a fan of bottom watering. So what I'm going to do is get this tray filled with soil. So what we're going to do is we are just going to take our sweet potatoes and just nestle them. Ooh, you shook. Just nestle them down straight into the soil. And what's going to happen is these will actually grow roots down into the soil. And then what will happen is the sprouts, or that will end up being our slips, will grow up. And when they grow to about this tall, about 4 inches tall, maybe anywhere between 2 to 6 inches, you can cut them, but I like to get them a little longer, like 4 inches tall. We will actually snip them, put them in a jar of water, and they will root out. And I've done this several times now, and it works every time beautifully. This is just my preferred way to do it because I don't want to have to worry about evaporating water or just something like that I have to remember. Honestly, I've got too much going on in my brain to remember that stuff. So I'm definitely going to, I prefer this method. I'm gonna get a little more soil and just make sure that these are, about halfway buried. So we've got 2 different kinds of sweet potato vines, ornamental vines, and then we have our normal, I think these are Beauregard sweet potatoes. I believe that's what I planted last year, Beauregard. So just the traditional orange, yummy sweet potato. So we'll get these halfway buried, and then we will set them up on our shelf. Now, I have left them uncovered. I have left them covered. I have used a heat mat, not used a heat mat. They're going to grow either way. So I'm just going to go ahead and put them on the heat mat. This is probably about 2 or 3 weeks earlier than I need to start these, but the reason I'm starting them now is because I find when I start them at the time that is recommended, my slips aren't as big as when I've started them early. So I like to start them early. That way I have a good jump on the growing season because I want good, strong slips. Okay, so we've got all of our sweet potatoes in the tray. And again, we used the 10-20 mesh tray inside of the 10-20 just so that it's easier for me to bottom water. We're just going to water them in. They don't need the moisture because they need it. They need the moisture because anytime you plant something, you want to water it in because it settles the soil just to make sure that there's no air pockets or anything like that. We just want to get it all watered in. And I like these little misters because that way if I'm planting seeds, it won't dislodge the seeds. So we will get this up on the heating mat underneath a set of grow lights. And these grow lights are on 16 hours a day when I have them on. So I have them set up so that like one rack at a time can be turned on and off, or you can unplug the individual lights. They're all strung together. But I'm going to go ahead and get these on a heat mat, and then this will take a while. This will be several weeks, and you'll think, what is happening? Are these things even growing at all? And then one by one, they'll start shooting out little sprouts, and you'll clip them and put them in the water. And each one of these potatoes should grow, between 4 to 6 on the low side, little sprouts that'll turn into slips. Usually I get like 10 to 12 from each one. So it doesn't take very many to grow a whole year's worth, essentially, for my family size and for most family sizes. So I'm excited that you guys were here with me today. I'm going to put these off on the shelf. And just like that, we have our very first thing planted for the season. So I want to thank you guys so much for all the likes and the comments and the shares. If you haven't subscribed, please consider subscribing. We have a whole lot more growing and building and chickens and preserving and fun activities to do. So I appreciate you guys so much. Can't wait to see you guys next time. Bye, my friend.